Hello and welcome to the Never Seen It podcast. It's a show about movies that we haven't seen yet. My name is Trent. I'm here with my wife, Betsy.
My name's Betsy.
I just said that.
Yeah.
Betsy, we are done with our dueling series.
Yeah.
Western Wednesday is over and our Cageathon has wrapped up.
It has completed.
And we had a little bit of a detour with our Clerks 2 episode. And Betsy, today we are going to cleanse whatever palate that needs to be cleansed. And we're going to watch an animated movie.
Yes, we are.
A much requested movie over the 150 some episodes we've done. We're going to watch another Pixar movie. This one is called Coco. It came out in 2017.
Yes, and this one we confirmed before we began that this is actually Pixar, because if
Yeah.
you've been listening, we don't know the difference between
No.
the Disney stuff and the Pixar stuff, because it used to be easy. Trent,
DreamWorks also does stuff.
Remember back in like the 90s and the 2000s when Disney was still doing hand-drawn animation? So as children, we could tell the difference between this one is Disney and this one is Pixar.
Right.
And now everything is animated that way.
And like I said, DreamWorks also got into the mix with I think their first animated movie was Shrek.
Yeah.
So, and of course, that was the first year that the Academy first started having its own category for animated features. And Shrek won that first year.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, and I can't remember when Disney bought Pixar, but I believe it was around the same time. Because it would make sense for Disney to really amp up their animation studios with having this digital thing, because approaching the early to mid 2000s is when like hand-drawn animation became very, very difficult and expensive to do.
It was always expensive.
It was a dying art though.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to do it anymore because
Nobody
all those guys and gals died off. They don't train for that. You can't go to school for that. It's all digital animation. So Disney had to shore up their digital studios, and they bought Pixar.
Well, and even now, there's enough programming out there to make digital animation look like hand-drawn animation.
Sure. Like, I always think about The Simpsons. Like, The Simpsons was a hand-drawn thing. They sent off to Korea to have drawn and animated up until the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Then they changed it over to a digital ink and paint kind of a thing. But it still wasn't like CG or anything like that. And even before that, it wasn't like high definition. It was just digital, the same 4:3 screen that you were used to from the 80s and 90s. But now, like, what you look at on The Simpsons today is what you would see on the big screen. It's the same kind of technology that they used to make the movie, The Simpsons movie.
That they used to make Coco, the movie we're watching today.
Yes, let's actually talk about Coco. So, Betsy, neither of us have seen this movie yet, and we've covered all the reasons why we don't go off and watch Disney and Pixar, all these animated movies in general. We've covered a few of them already on the show, and again, we don't have any kids, so we don't really have any reason to put this on and just throw it on. And I've heard plenty of really, really good things about this movie.
Oh, yeah, and we know a lot of what you would call the Disney adults in our circle who just watch all of it because they love it. And I'm sure there is much here to love. And again, I'm doing the thing. I'm grouping animated, Disney, Pixar.
Sure.
Shut up.
Whatever.
Semantics. But we just don't seek them out. And now with this Disney Plus platform, we have so many just accessible to us at the click of a button.
Yeah, and we are in the middle of rewatching The Emperor's New Groove because Betsy...
For the 100th time.
Betsy suggested it the other day. It's like, okay, yeah, we can do that. It's one of our many movies that we have like half watched and we'll just pick up on whatever.
Well, in one of those last of the hand-drawn animated Disney
came out in 2000.
movies.
It's one of the last ones.
And it's so good. Guys, if you have not watched The Emperor's New Groove, for the love of God, go and watch The Emperor's New Groove.
It's a hot 83 minutes, I think.
It's so great.
Yes.
But yes, we haven't watched Coco because that's not the kind of thing we spend our time going to the movie theaters to see.
Sure.
I can't tell you the last animated movie we saw in the theater apart from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Brave.
We
saw Brave in the theater.
Holy cow. So yeah, it's been a really long time.
That was like 2011, 2012 when we were still dating.
Yes, that's been a very long time since we've seen one of these kinds of movies in the theater. But as far as Coco is concerned, I've heard that it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's got a lot of good music in it, right? Some of the songs came out of it that were super popular.
Well, and this is one, is it set in Mexico?
Yes.
It's a lot of Day of the Dead imagery and themes, and as I understand it, there's actually, he enters the afterlife or something?
Something to that effect. Yeah. I don't really know, like, I have very little exposure to a lot of the Mexican cultures and whatnot. The only exposure I've really had is a video game called Guacamole. It is a Mexican wrestler who is wearing like his luchador mask, and he's going around fighting enemies and whatever else. And there's a lot of that imagery and motif to it. That's really the only exposure I've had to it.
Yeah, and I expect this movie is going to be very vibrant and colorful and music akin to that culture.
Yeah.
I also believe fully, because they all do it, it's going to tug at my little heartstrings.
Oh, if there's any movie of the past decade that I think, besides maybe Up, but that was maybe even more than a decade ago, that will make you cry. I have heard that Coco is one of those movies.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to cry this afternoon, Trent.
I might cry this afternoon. But other than that, I know nobody in this movie, not a single name.
Maybe what's his butt, Ratzenberger, because it is Pixar.
I don't know how they're going to fit Ratzenberger in Mexico, but okay. All right, Betsy. So that's pretty much the extent of our knowledge here about Coco. We're going to go watch it now. We will be right back. And we are back. That was Coco, Betsy. So they weren't lying when they said, yeah, you're probably going to cry at the end of this movie.
What the state I was in for the first 10 minutes of Up.
Yeah.
Escalate that for the last 10 minutes of Coco. I was a bit of an inconsolable mess for a few minutes. I needed a little break before we started recording.
Both of us needed a bit of a break. Yes.
Oh, Lord Almighty. Yeah, because I was crying kind of every time that kid picked up a guitar for the first parts, because it's just like he's living his little dream.
And they're not letting him.
And then, like, when the big reveal happens and we find out that Hector is
You figured it out early, yeah.
Yeah, so Hector is his great-grandfather, not De La Cruz.
Yeah.
He... Like, they have that scene where they figure this out, and I was already, like, tear rolling down my face where I'm hearing, like, what happened to him.
Yeah.
And then they reveal that it's his great-grandfather.
I didn't get that until they were in that pit.
Well, it was interesting because at the beginning of the movie, they set it up like there was a man, he was a musician, this is the backstory, so you know that somebody is his great-grandfather. And I was like, oh, he doesn't know that it's De La Cruz. And they give you all the pieces. And I was like, oh, well, it's kind of a cliche choice, but in the sense of this story, the big twist is that he doesn't know.
Right. And with the whole name thing, the De La Cruz name, his name is not De La Cruz.
No, it's a stage name or whatever.
Well,
that's what you kind of assume.
Well, he had a daughter. And if you have a daughter, your daughter's probably going to marry somebody and take their name. So the original name wouldn't pass on.
Yeah, and these elements, like, you just figure, oh, well, as the audience, we know that that's who his great-grandfather was.
Right.
But he doesn't know it, and that's the big twist. So when we get to the place where we meet De La Cruz, they're having this interaction, and we find out that Hector did know him, and he's saying, like, I just wanted to go home. I wanted to go to my daughter. And I'm like, there it is.
Oh, boy.
And they quickly get there. And then, just he's being forgotten, and they've already set up the pieces of what happens when you're forgotten.
And your picture is not up.
Oh my God, I was so invested in this, and his whole family that's helping him, even though they don't want to help him. Like, he accepts his family's decision to not let him do music.
And the whole quote about don't forget them. You don't have to forgive them.
Yeah.
Your family, you might have some people in your family that have done your family wrong, done you wrong, other members of the family or other people. You don't forget them because they're a part of your family.
Yeah, the whole lesson here is your family is your family.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. In the end, you should still remember them.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the end of this movie, I was so invested in Hector and Lil Miguel and Grandma Coco.
Oh, Grandma Coco.
Oh, Grandma Coco. And, the most famous song, Remember Me, that's the one that, I don't know if it won, but it was definitely nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song.
Yeah.
It's that thing where they're giving you the main song early in the movie, but when different people sing it has different context and different meaning.
Yeah.
So like when they show him singing it to Coco when she's little, I'm like, huh? No. It's happening. It's all, what are this water coming from my eyes? And then when Miguel sings it to her, and it's that thing
right there.
It's that thing where you know what he's gonna do to make her remember, because as somebody who's watched a lot of movies, I know this is written for kids, but it's also written by somebody who knows how to tug at your heartstrings.
Of course.
I'm like, he's going to sing that fucking song. He's going to sing that song, and it's going to have a completely different weight and a completely different meaning. And she's basically like zoning out in a corner because she's very, very old and doesn't remember in the way that, all of us, as we get older, it's harder to remember things. And she's the only one who remembers him, and it all comes back, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, and like him going there and doing that, you know that this is probably what he's going to have to do to get her to remember. But that portion, like you said, was not meant for kids. That portion was meant for people like us.
Yeah, they stopped making this a movie for children. This is just a beautiful movie for people who like to remember their family and how much they love them. People who have had
lives and have, good connections with their family.
Yeah, good, bad, or other. Like,
sure.
Coco is a very old little woman who hasn't seen her father since she was like 5.
Yeah.
But she remembers him because she kept his letters and the poems he wrote for her.
Right.
And, the whole thing in the movie, the MacGuffin, if you will, is this photo with the face torn out.
Sure.
And she kept that little corner of his picture for her whole life. And
there's a story there.
Yeah, and it's so layered. And then once she remembers, he sings this song and she sings along with him.
It all starts flowing back.
It starts flooding back, and she says, "Let me tell you about my father." And the whole family is there, and none of them have heard any of these stories. Like, we just don't talk about this man.
Right. And I assume that, like, her daughter, Coco's daughter, who is Miguel's grandmother, probably has taken some umbrage with a lot of the things that her grandfather did, and she has made sure to impart that to all of the rest of the family that comes after. But Coco still has this very much a childlike a connection to her father.
Well, yeah, the comparison between what was her? Imelda, I think was her name, the great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother, yeah.
And Coco's daughter, like the two of them beating people up with shoes. Those two are very similar. And then in between you have Coco, who maybe when she was growing up, she was more like that, but she has softened and reverted back to this childlike state where all she keeps remembering is her father. So there are a few scenes where somebody mentions him and she goes, Papa,
has
he's
Papa
coming.
Come home? Yeah.
And it's just very sad. And it just makes you think about this whole movie. It makes you think about all the people that came before, and maybe the ones that you have your own memory of, like your grandparents died when you were very young.
Yeah, my last grandparent died in 96.
Yes.
So I've been without grandparents of any kind for a pretty long time, but Betsy still has 2 grandmothers still around.
Right, and so you remember that version of your grandparents.
Right.
But then there were your grandparents' grandparents who you never met.
No.
You didn't even meet one of your grandparents.
Yep.
They were gone 12 years before you died. You were born.
Yeah, I never met my mother's mother, and my dad never even met her. She was gone long beforehand. So, like you said, I have an interpretation of them, but it's a childlike thing because I only remember this thing. But then again, I also heard stories about my grandparents from my parents, because they pass those on, and that's the whole idea of the movie.
And that's what they're doing here, but here, because the source material is this jaded woman who had no time for his nonsense and threw all the music out and sacrificed everything to raise her daughter, she's like, screw it, we're making shoes and no music in this house, and that is the way my children will be raised, and my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, and my great-great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
And them's the rules. And so everybody is fed the same story, and there's only one version of it, and everybody accepts it as truth.
Everybody does, even to the other kids.
Yeah, that's all they know, and nobody even knows there's a different version out there. Like even even Hector doesn't know in the afterlife that he was murdered.
Right.
Like, there's some heavy shit in this movie.
Well, he fell ill as he was about to head out of town, and he thought, oh, maybe it was something I ate.
The chorizo man.
Yes.
Yeah, he choked on a sausage. That's like the joke in this movie is he is the laughing stock because of how he died, when in fact, his music partner fully killed him and took all his songs, his guitar, and tainted his entire memory.
Yeah.
And nobody knows that except De La Cruz.
Right.
Nobody knows.
Right. And it's the whole, of course, the villain has to get their comeuppance in any kind of movie like this. So you think that, okay, the movie's going to be over, but we have to have this one more thing.
There has
the
to be
movie's
going
to be over. There has to be one more thing. We have to tie up all the loose ends. So, yeah, I enjoyed the fact that he was it. But of course, the big famous singer slash songwriter, the hero that everybody's looking up to. Again, I said it before many times. I'll say it again. Never meet your heroes. He turns out
in this life or the next.
Yes. He turns out to be the bad guy, so of course he's gonna get his comeuppance at the end.
Yep, and it's a what do you call it? A cruel irony, an artistic irony, because at the beginning of the movie, and this was fucking hilarious, he was the biggest star in the world until in 1942 he was killed when a bell was dropped on him.
It's like one of the most shocking things I have ever seen in a Pixar movie.
In an animated movie, yes. It's very just like out of nowhere, comedic, and I think they get away with it in this movie because he's quote not dead.
Yeah,
so
he's still there, and he's
comes
very
back.
much remembered.
And at the end of the movie, he is thrown into a bell and smashed by a bell yet again.
Indeed.
And then in the real world, the memory of his legacy is proven to be a lie because they all published the letters and all
Coco
the lyrics.
Coco still has all the letters and the things that he wrote.
Proof enough that this other guy was a piece of shit.
Right. Yeah.
And they all forget him. Like they say, forget him. And they have this big mausoleum and they're like, screw that guy.
Yeah.
And they managed to start rebuilding Hector's reputation and start rekindling his memory so more people will remember him in the great beyond.
Indeed.
And it was very sweet, and it hurt my feelings in ways I didn't expect to cry that much, like genuinely. I cry in movies, but this one was like the ugly crying.
Bawling. It's the moment where Miguel comes back, and he is bound and determined to see his great-grandma and play this song for her, because he is bound and determined to not let him be forgotten.
Yeah, his grandfather, or
great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Yes.
Two greats.
Yes. To come back and play that song for her, and all the family's there, and they can see Coco doesn't have any ill will towards that. And if she did, it's all washed away because of her age and her state of mind and everything else. You kind of revert back sometimes when you're pretty frail.
Yeah, all the bad stuff is gone, and she just remembers the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one, they weren't kidding. They weren't kidding.
It really pulls at your heartstrings all the way. Just being a kid and having your family not want to support what you want to do, even though it's something that is very common, especially in this culture. Like, they have an entire... What do they say? When he was in the plaza, they call it... It's crawling with mariachis. As if they're like subhuman.
It's called Mariachi Plaza because there's just
this
so
is
many...
just where everything is.
So many musicians.
Yeah.
It's crawling, as you said, with musicians.
And that's a very negative connotation when you call it that.
Yeah, it's
but
like
still,
bugs and infestation.
Right. But, that sentiment is... It rings true for a lot of kids who want to do, especially now. Like, kids do not want to be, a fireman, a policeman. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a weatherman.
An astronaut.
That's the only man that I wanted to be. Yeah, an astronaut. All these big things that you romanticize when you're a kid. But kids don't want to be that anymore. They want to be a movie star. They want to be a YouTuber. They want to be a YouTuber,
a Twitch celebrity,
Twitch star, all that stuff. If I could make a living doing that, I would absolutely do that.
More power to you guys. More power to you.
Yeah. We're certainly not making our fortune with this podcasting venture.
Yet.
Support us, and maybe we can get there. But I get the sentiment that this kid, he grew up in this thing, and he is pushing that away. And there's even a thing about...
Who wants to be a shoemaker?
Right, and they're like pushing him into being a shoemaker, and he obviously doesn't want to do that. Nobody does. They even get to the point where he is pushing his family away. Miguel is pushing his family away. And I want to have nothing to do with you anymore. I'm going to go off and do my thing, much like his great-great-grandfather. So, there's a lot of connections here, and I think you can pull out a lot of things you can relate to.
Well, since you're kind of touching on it, there was also that scene where, I'm going to just call it the afterlife because they don't really give it a name. But his great-grandmother...
The land of the dead.
Yeah. His great-grandmother tracks him down finally, and he says, no, you want to send me back, and you don't understand me.
Yeah.
And she starts singing, which is a shock and a half to him because he thought she hated music because that's the only story he's ever been told. And she basically reveals she loved music. She loved to sing.
Past tense.
But she had to make sacrifices because her support and her husband left and she had to take care of this kid. And even after that, he says, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I can't live without acceptance. I need my family to accept me. What is the point of being there if they don't understand and they don't accept me? And he runs off to pursue this.
Sure.
And it's just like, oh, that scene hurt me. That one hurt. And I think that may have been cry counter number 6 or 7. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was very emotional where, they all are shoemakers. Yeah. That's what they do because great grandma said, we're not doing music. Our family is not into music. Them's against the rules. We make shoes and we're good at it.
Yeah.
And that's, you're pushing away what your family wants for you.
And she's even bearing her soul here and saying, if you want a reason why we do not allow music in this family, this is why. Your great-great-grandfather left me with my daughter, and I had to do what I had to do in order to survive. I suppose this was back in the 30s?
Yeah,
I suppose.
I think
if we're going to actually place this in time when he left, I would say that was during the 30s, and that was a really hard time. It was a hard time in the U.S., probably even worse in Mexico. So, that rang true for me. And she's harboring a lot of like ill will towards this man, and for good reason.
Yeah, resentment and anger and hurt feelings and just every emotion under the sun.
And in the afterlife, I guess you could say maybe they could have come together and reconciled in some way. But
and he's clearly tried because she says
they're aware
Stay
that
away
they're
from
there.
Me.
Yeah, I don't, and she's still harboring this thing and like pushing him away even in the afterlife. But if there's any criticism that I'm going to put on this movie, it is that those two kind of came back together too easily.
Where she just in the heat of the moment says, that was the love of my life.
Well, a love of my life, and she's like jumping on him, embracing him after they do their duet number thing.
Okay, but here, listen. If you have been for, most of your life, and now for however long in the afterlife, time works differently. Time is relative.
Sure.
If you have been stewing about this, it's much easier to stew about it alone, away from the situation.
Sure.
But when you are confronted face to face with it and you actually have to turn that off a little bit, it's a lot harder to keep that wall up when you're being confronted by it.
It's a lot harder to hate, guys.
Yeah, and, I think she probably has wanted to forgive him because he's the love of her life.
Right.
And she knows it. She just doesn't want to admit it because she'd rather just be angry. But guys, sometimes it's a lot easier to just get over yourselves and forgive people than to be angry forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much energy.
You will forever have this connection with this man.
Yeah.
Because he is the father of your child.
Oh, yeah.
No matter whatever else happens, he is always the father of your child. You don't have to like him. You don't have to love him. You don't even have to have him in your life. But you got to acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah, and as I have gotten older, it is a lesson I've had to learn to just let things go.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's really easy to harbor anger and resentment when you're, like, hot-headed and 20 years old. Yeah. But you got to become an adult sometime and just let things go and live your life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anyway, now that we've gone down that path, let's go back to the actual movie. As I figured, this was a vibrant, beautiful, colorful movie.
And I read that this movie was actually in production longer than any other movie that Pixar has ever done. It was like 6 years.
Just because it's so colorful and detailed?
I would say so, yeah. Because of they're in a lot of different locations here. The settings are very varied. And not only do you have to have the land of the living, but the land of the dead also has to have like a lot of depth to it. And I literally said, wow, when Miguel actually walked in past the security and like looked up and at this entire dead city. And it was incredible.
But that's the thing. The city is alive.
Yes.
The city itself.
Yes.
It's a city of the dead, and the city is so alive.
Right.
It's almost overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Like, every building is pink and orange and bright green, and they all are covered in lights, and there's these wild animals that are just
these spirit animals that are colorful as hell,
tripping balls,
neon greens and yellows and oranges and all this
and they
shit.
spit blue fire, and they have glowing yellow eyes, and they can breathe on the ground and light up footprints, and it's just every single little detail. Like, I don't know what you call that animal that Esmeralda, or again, I've forgotten her name, great grandma. Yeah. She has what is like a cat with horns and wings. Yeah. And it's this massive beast that is just, scary, but also cool.
Right. And I don't really know, again, we don't really know a lot about the culture here, but I've heard a lot about, spirit animals being in those cultures and whatnot. But the motif of like the skulls is everywhere in this culture and in this movie.
And the way they make it, like, this could have been really unpalatable for kids because you're going into a place where everybody's dead and they're all skeletons, and skeletons are scary to kids. But they found a way, like, they gave them eyeballs. Yeah, they gave eyeballs. They, like, painted their eye sockets black instead of having just open sockets.
And everybody has a different kind of face.
And they're all painted. They all have, like, De La Cruz has a little mustache.
Yep.
And their cheekbones have,
they have
the
accents,
decorations.
so they're all unique.
Mm-hmm. And they have hair, which I think also helps. Sure. Like, all the women have itty-bitty little waists because they have no flesh.
Right.
But yeah, they have ways of making them all much easier to look at than real human skeletons.
I also liked the scenes where he's seeing his extended family, and it's just cutting back to the photos that they have up on the shrine.
They're all, some of them are big boned. Like they're
the lady,
life,
her big chin.
Yeah, they're the way they looked in life and the way they look in the afterlife is the same because they just made their full skull the right shape and size.
Yeah.
That's not really how bones work, guys. My sister knows a thing or two about bones and will tell you that these cartoonish bones are not correct. They're not anatomically accurate in this movie. So if she had a complaint, it would probably be that, but you can let it go because it's a kid's movie.
It is. And speaking of that, in the beginning of the movie, I kind of thought to myself, this movie, up until they hit the Land of the Dead, this movie doesn't have to be animated. They could have made this in real life.
Yeah.
Like the sentiment here is, okay, this kid, I don't know what the hell happened, why he went to the Land of the Dead. They don't explain that at all. They don't.
So
there's a little bit of magic in the petals
he's in the mausoleum.
Yeah.
And he kind of cracks open the
window.
Well, he cracks open the coffin, the big stone coffin, and he climbs up on there and he grabs the guitar and he plays a chord standing in the flower petals.
Yeah.
So they don't really say what reason this happens.
No.
You're kind of left to interpret that. And the only thing I could come up with was, well, this was his great-great-grandfather's guitar, and he's got enough magic in the weird abstract way of remembering this person. That's all I could come up with.
The answer's magic, Betsy. That's how we did it. It's magic.
Yes, it's definitely magic. Or it's just
Disney magic.
It's the simple, this is the night of the year where the guard between the living and the dead is thinnest.
Yes.
And magic things can happen.
Yes.
And you're supposed to roll with it.
Right. And that's an aside. But like the idea that you could have made this in real life, I think is really true up until you get to the Land of the Dead. But even then, you could probably make, CG characters in quote unquote real life that a person can interact with. I mean, I've seen all the Marvel movies.
Well,
I know what that looks like.
Think about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So they're all a cursed crew.
Yeah.
And that is a live action movie with animated skeletons.
Yes.
But
they did that in the mid-2000s.
That one's really disturbing. So
it can be scary, yes.
I totally see what you're saying, and I would totally watch this movie if it were live action, but you're right. You'd almost have to do more of a, I fell into a cartoon like the Page Master, where it's like sort of live action up to a point, and then everybody turns into an animated,
I suppose,
sequence.
Yeah.
Because I think if you had the whole movie with all of those skeletons, that would be such a bitch and a half to animate. Just like you said, 6 years in development for this movie, and this is all animated. Just think of how much you'd have to do to make that on a live action scale with animation inside of it.
And like I said, up until that point, I think this story, it would resonate enough with a real life cast. I don't know how you're gonna get that old of a woman on
she's cartoonishly old.
Yes,
she's a cartoon.
Yes. But yeah, Betsy, I think these movies that have to do with getting old and like having older family members. We covered Up last year. And of course, everybody knows about that movie. We're not going to cover it again. But damn it, it's the whole thing about getting older and letting go of your family, even the people who are you're most close to. It's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna happen.
Well, and they even talk about how in this afterlife, they show a character where he gets forgotten. And when there's nobody left alive who remembers you, you ultimately disappear from this world.
Yeah.
And Hector gets kind of sad, but then he kind of shrugs and says, "That happens to everybody. Let's go." Just moves on very quickly.
And I again, we keep on saying we don't really know a lot about this culture, but I know that just based on what we have seen here and the other stuff I've seen, the Mexican culture is very much not obsessed, but they have a different way of thinking about life and death.
They have a different deference for the dead.
Yeah.
And actually marking that occasion. Like there is the, what do you call it, Christianized version of the Day of the Dead, but most people think of like Halloween.
Sure.
And then there's also like All Saints Day,
which is the day after.
Right after.
Yeah.
All Souls Day. So there's
we don't make a big deal about it, though.
No, there's culturally little elements of it, but it's like this pocket of the world or that pocket of that culture does it.
When I read
where
that,
this is more of a countrywide experience, and they don't hold back. It is a vibrant, wild time.
And speaking of cultures, like apparently there's stuff in Asian cultures that they do not appreciate the depictions of skeletons in media or anything, really, because that's something that you just don't talk about.
It's disrespectful of the dead.
Yeah. So, apparently they were like the Chinese government was going to have a problem with this movie coming up, but they made an exception for it.
Wow.
They let it go out. So good on them, I guess.
Yeah, just it goes to show you just how culturally different the world is when you really dig into it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, though.
I mean, most cultures and religions are, they obsess over what happens when you die. In some capacity or another.
Every human being thinks about that because it's the question. And then they even question it here because, like I was just saying, once you are forgotten by the living, you disappear from the land of the dead. And nobody knows what happens.
He asks, what happens to him now? I don't know.
So there's an afterlife, but then there's an afterlife.
Right.
So even the dead don't know what happens after you've died from being dead.
Right.
So another thing I wanted to bring up, going back to the spirit animals, the spirit guides.
Yeah.
So they introduce them as they're crossing over into this land, and he has a street dog named Dante, which is like the single ugliest looking dog.
He has no hair except for like some weird stuff coming out of his head.
And he has giant bug eyes and his tongue hangs out all the time. So he has named the dog Dante, which is the name of the horse in one of
his movies.
One of Ernesto de la Cruz's movies.
Yeah.
And the family, chides him and says, don't name the dog, don't name the street dog, they're going to follow you home. But he just can see this kid.
Yeah.
And again, we aren't supposed to question it. Like, he can just see the kid, but he goes to the afterlife and runs into, of all people, Frida Kahlo.
Right.
Who, with her monkey. Yeah. I love that she has her monkey in the afterlife. And that is a crazy looking monkey who breathes fire.
Of course.
She says, oh, you have this spirit guide with you, and they come in all forms. Or he's just a dog.
Yeah.
And later in the movie, he's riding, like he helps rescue Miguel and Hector. And they're riding the big animal, the cat animal, through the sky. And all of a sudden, the color starts absorbing up his little toes and up his arms, and then it pops out his little snout, and he gets little bitty wings. And Dante the dog is, in fact, a spirit guide.
Animal,
and he's just, pink and green and yellow and crazy looking. And at the end of the movie, he crosses back into the land of the living with the cat, and they just turn back into a regular cat and a dog.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson here, guys. Be nice to street animals. You have to be nice to street animals because you never know when they're your abstract guardian angel, as it were.
Oh, Betsy would know. She has come across quite a few animals on her walks.
Yes, I want to make sure they're all okay. Like I really. People like let their cats out
Betsy
and let their dog.
Heart, guys.
I do what?
You have a big heart.
I do, guys. I do. So some people let their cats and dogs just out and wander. In particular, cats. Like they just let them wander around the neighborhood. But I can't tell the difference between somebody's cat that they've just let wander around and a stray cat.
Yeah.
I saw one last week, and I was on my way to work, and I stopped the car because this cat was in the street, and I needed it to at least not be on the street. If I had had more time, I probably would have tried to catch that cat and taken it somewhere. And I don't care if that's your cat. Don't let your cat wander around, because let me tell you, if my cat got loose, I would want someone to stop and catch that cat, because I would be devastated.
Yeah, we thought thought that one of our cats had gotten out because we couldn't find her. She was hiding from us.
So well.
Yeah.
For an hour and a half.
Yeah, we literally got out of the house and were looking around the neighborhood for our cat.
I was crying trying to find our cat because I was convinced she somehow got out. She was hiding under the couch, guys.
Yeah, she was like in the couch somehow.
In the couch.
I had to like physically lift up the couch and off she ran. Anyway.
But yeah, the moral is, if I see street animals, I immediately want to help them and catch them and help find who has lost them or find them a home, because if, they're out on the street, it's a hard life and I just want to pet you and love you. I'll feed you. I will.
One more story here. So years ago, we had a cat named Kitty. We've mentioned Kitty in the past.
Kitty.
And Kitty passed away suddenly. And we were in the process of moving, and we were in no state to be getting another animal. So one day, I had gotten back from work, and I was just by myself. Betsy was going to be coming along very shortly, and I was just on the side of our house, or this our old house, and here's this orange cat, just strolling up to me like it was nothing. In the neighbor's yard, and he or she or whatever came up to me, and then Betsy came home around the same time this happening, and I yelled at her, hey, come here, look what I got. And sure enough, this cat was there, and Betsy came up to us, and I think we had some do we have some food left or something? I can't remember.
I'm sure we still had food because this was like a week after our cat had passed away.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. So we decided, you know what? This cat doesn't have a collar. We have no idea what the deal is here.
He's so friendly.
So friendly. Clearly, and like the cat wasn't like dirty or anything. He was a good medium to long-haired cat. And if it's a long-haired cat and they're out on the street, they're going to get dirty. Mm-hmm. So we figured this has got to belong to somebody. So we decided, let's go get the cat carrier we have. Let's put him in there and take him to the Humane Society.
He put himself in there.
That's right. We opened it up.
We set the carrier out.
He went right in, and it's okay. This cat has done this before. So we drove it all the way up to the Humane Society. There's I guess a drop location you can put animals that you're dropping off. And we happened to have a piece of paper there to leave a note. And we wrote a little thing saying, we just lost our cat. We would hate for anybody to not have. And this is also like around Christmas time. So we would hate to have anybody lose their cat around the holidays. We know how it is to lose an animal, so blah, blah, blah. So not to give you...
Bringing it back to the movie, though.
Right.
It's a lot of life and death and spirit, guys. So just be nice to street animals.
Be nice to your family.
Be nice to your family.
Be nice to animals.
Remember your pets just as much as you remember your family after they're gone.
Because your pets are your family.
They are your family.
All right.
Brought it back, Trent.
Betsy, do you have any other thoughts before we get out of here?
No, there were a lot of nice moments, sweet moments, funny moments.
Yeah.
It's overall, this is a really nice movie, and I'm definitely going to revisit it when I'm more emotionally prepared to cry.
Yeah. There was only one moment that I wanted to mention. It is the literal first part of the movie. It's when they're doing the whole Disney castle thing, when they're presenting that, and it's a new version of that same Disney song.
It's When You Wish Upon a Star in a traditional Mexican style.
Yeah, that was really cool. That set the tone for the rest of the movie.
And all of the music in this movie is that.
And we haven't even mentioned hardly the music at all.
It's great.
And I think I was confused when we were doing the intro. I was confusing this one for a more recent one. I think Encanto had some songs that got really popular. I don't know if anything from this got really popular.
I think, like I touched on, Remember Me got nominated for an Academy Award, and I probably won. But other than that one, no, it didn't have the impact of We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yeah.
Which, guys, we'll get to Encanto later, but yeah, that's just one of those other elements about the fact that they made this movie. This is such a culturally significant type of story. And it's really nice that they are edging out and making more diverse storylines. And Encanto, I could see why you would mix them up.
Sure.
Abstractly, not having seen it, just because, again, it's a different culture and different types of actors get to be in the movie and different kind of music. And for a long time, that's not what Disney was.
Sure, and I appreciate the fact that they are educating people at the same time. Like, this Mexican culture has these other, customs and whatever else to teach kids, you know what? Not everybody has the same traditions as you. Not everybody's going to have the same kind of thoughts about death and family and that you might.
Teach you a different worldview.
Right. Betsy, no emails today, but we invite you, dear listener, to email us about this movie, any other movie we've covered, or any movie that you would like us to cover. That email address is neverseenitpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, neverseenit_pod. We got a Facebook and an Instagram. Both are called neverseenitpod1. That's the number 1, the digit 1, the 1 on your keyboard. Support the show as well. You can click the link in the podcast description about support. You can throw us $1 on Anchor. We would very much appreciate that. But Betsy, that is going to be the end of this show. We're back to doing kind of onesie-twosie movies here and there. I have no idea what our next series is going to be, and neither of us do. So
we've talked about so many.
We've got some things in the works, but we just kind of need to cover a few movies here just to kind of, we've had them in our mind, get them out of our system, and then we can start up with whatever our next thing is. So, Betsy, I want to thank you for being my co-host today. I want to thank everybody listening here. This has been Never Seen It. My name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.